So hi guys, so a little different here today. My name is Sandy Esprit. I'm a content creator here on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok, and I'm joined here with the lovely Dr. Calinda Lee. I am so excited to have you here today. I actually Googled you, so I did like a quick history lesson of Dr. Lee, and your resume is like impressive. Like I was like, oh snap! There's a lot of letters to your to your pedigree, and I was just like, okay. No, this is awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time with me. I know that you're here to really help push diversity and representation in our, not necessarily in the nation's capital, but throughout Canada, and helping us really share our stories as Black people, right? And so just if you could tell us what that's been like for you doing that in the States.
Well, it's my calling, it's been my life's work to focus, as I say all the time, on telling the full story, which necessarily needs to be inclusive. If you only know a part of the story, like knowing a part of the recipe, you can't get it right.
That's true.
And so understanding the roles that Black people writ large across immigration stories, across time, across borders. So in Canada and in the United States, the roles that we have played to create the societies in which we live, and the ways that we, really dynamically are shaping the future. That is, it's as important as any other part of the history. And to leave that out is a real omission. It is a failure.
No, that's true. Like a lot of times we think of history in terms of what's written in the textbook, and get to be my age, and we're older as adults, and we realize there's a lot of gaps missing, and it is a failure. And I guess that's the big disconnect, I think, within our generations, and not just necessarily like in terms of like elders and youth, but in terms of even the way we share information because of those historical gaps. Like, would you say, or?
I think that it's a real disservice to the elders who have helped create the worlds in which we live, and to the youth who are looking forward, and they know it. The youth in particular, they know it, right? So they don't trust these narratives that they're getting in the school textbooks. They don't trust, they know that they are missing from these things. And I think that also, even for those who aren't missing, right? So in the mainstream narratives, what it suggests to people is that some people, and in fact, based on the statistics, right, most of the people, increasingly, who you are sharing this space with, don't have a right to this space, don't have a claim to this space, don't have a sense of belonging in this space. How can you expect people to take those messages and then be respectful, and then be appropriately curious, and then be even kind to their really fellow Canadians, fellow Americans?
Right. And so do you think like that would be, because right now the latest thing that seems to have gone the great divide on the internet is the Little Mermaid. And I know it's crazy that I even have to bring this up in 2022, but the representation of a mermaid is now a political debate. That's wild to me.
Well, logically, it makes no sense, right? Because she's a mermaid. So obviously, she wasn't white or black, but she's a mermaid, a fictional character, a fictional creature.
Right.
But I think that there's something in that that's real, that's very meaningful, which is about what do we mean when we say beauty? What do we mean when we decide on figures, real or fictional, that our children might want to emulate, to see as heroes and heroines? And that is very meaningful, and that is really where people are planting their flags, and that is really fueling this debate, right? Because what you're saying is, this is what beauty means, this is what wisdom means, this is what kindness means, and it doesn't have to look one way.
And that is very interesting, that to even look at it in terms of beauty. Like, a lot of my content is based on beauty, skincare, makeup, hats, all that other stuff. But Black beauty is something that's never been considered, that could be equated as a Eurocentric version of what beauty, which is mainstream beauty. right? Like I recently did a post about the gentrification of black trends, which is, take something that was popular in the hood, in the ghettos, put a white face on it, and it's a trend, right? So do you think we're ever going to get to a point where it stops, or is it part of this controversy where we create a narrative that sparks fear to sell these trends?
Yeah, I mean, cultural appropriation
Yeah.
is probably as old as culture.
Right? Yeah, I agree.
And, especially when culture can be commodified.
Yeah.
Then who gets the money? Who gets the influence? As an historian, I don't necessarily think of history as linear.
Okay.
I think of history as spiraling.
Okay.
Right? So maybe we're moving forward, but things come back around. We have to revisit. Just because you fought a battle doesn't mean you might not have to fight it again. I think that's the nature of human existence. And so, while it might sound pessimistic, it gives me some comfort, because it makes me then realize that when we're engaged in that right now, it's sort of not the end of the world. Right? And we have to live to fight again another day.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that whatever we've accomplished isn't meaningful.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So do you think, like, with the wisdom that we gain from, for example, me seeing this happening, for me it's like first time, like, oh my gosh, like how is it? So let's say 20 years from now, there's wisdom in, I've been here before, so I know how to address it better.
I think so. And I think that if we keep developing the ability to hear each other, and something that I'm really passionate about as a museum professional, is making sure that we are saving, collecting, archiving these stories, these experiences, this wisdom, so that we can pass it on. So we don't have to learn every lesson all over again. I tell my children all the time, like, you don't have to learn the same thing that I've already learned and can tell you. You can add to that and increase our knowledge as we move forward. And I think that that's a really important part of what we can do.
Okay, cool. I really like this. Okay, I'm going to switch gears for a little bit, because you recently told me your age. I'm not going to do that to you online.
I own every single one. It's better than the alternative, 50 plus 1.
Okay, cool. I love it. Because, it could be a little touchy. So I want to know, you have incredible skin. So I need to know, the people want to know. Okay, just me. What for you is, because you have a very hard job. It's stressful. You're going up against what we call the dinosaurs. So we're talking about legacy money. We're talking about old money with a lot of power and influence. How do you make sure that you stay clear so that it doesn't show, you don't have, I don't see stress line. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying, like, it's not showing. You get what I mean? So what would be your best advice for the up-and-comers who are dealing with the stress of life and we not trying to show it?
Well, I'll say a few things. I kind of will kiddingly say, first of all, but maybe for real, I get it from my mama. Genetics. But really, I think that you have to make decisions that are good for yourself on the inside, because the inside-out connection is real. And I will tell you that I made some choices in my life when I got to a point where I realized that there was a point at which I realized that continuing to do this thing had a direct relationship, honestly and truly, to how long I could expect to live.
Oh, wow.
I felt like staying in this situation had an inverse relationship to how long I could expect to live. Because stress is truly a killer. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't take on difficult work or relationships or whatever the case may be in terms of things that matter to you. But I do think that it needs to be purposeful. We spend a lot of time and energy stressing about stuff that actually doesn't matter.
Probably right.
It needs to be purposeful, and it needs to be fulfilling. Because that means that you can continue to do that and feel positively about it, even if you have setbacks. The other thing I would say, honestly and truly, hydrate and get some sleep.
The two main things I struggle with. Okay. So drink my water and get some sleep.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Well, honestly, Dr. Lee, it's been an honor, a privilege to speak with you. I'm so grateful you took the time to even sit down with me. And I'm grateful for the work that I get to see happen. And I hope and pray that, my daughters will not be the ones, having, I guess, the exact same conversation in terms of like, how do we get started? And it will be more of how do we sustain it? But what you've done so far, again, bravo. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you are doing, including, it sounds like, the mothering that you were doing to introduce these conversations and provide support, and make space for them to be whatever their great destinies are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I give you a hug? Like, I just felt like, I'm like, this just spoke into my mind.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Alrighty, so that is it for me and Dr. Lee, and I will see you guys in the next video. Ciao for now.